everyone, it's Grim. If you're expecting an intro with me and Killjoy, please do not be disappointed. But today's episode is brought to you by Ain't Shit Technology. So we invited the creator of I Need Diverse Games, Cypher of Tier, aka Tanya, to the show. We're so glad that she graced us with her presence. And we're talking about Sony and their devious ways to grab gamers' money with their new PS4.5, allegedly, and their VR headset, their $500 VR headset, and my OBS decided it just wanted to shut down. So after finally getting back into the run of things, we didn't miss anything super important, but we cut into the news right when we were talking about VR. And if you are looking for some tea on the Microsoft party, you better listen, because Cypher dropped some real tea about Kamina and how the internet proceeded to drag her by cherry picking tweets about what happened at the notorious Microsoft schoolgirl party event. Let's get into it. Okay, so maybe this time things will work out. Hopefully, we have some backup things in place. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we were saying, I don't think that I don't think that I'm really interested in VR for anything but horror, cuz like I could see the jump scares being really awesome. I could see I don't know. I could see it being fun during that, but I'm not interested in anything like Minecrafty or I don't know, like maybe something. I don't. You remember the game Journey that was on PS3? I think they brought it over to PS4.
Yep.
Yeah, I would probably play that on VR, but this is not a like something for me to scramble and get on the first few days. Like that's not a day one purchase for me. I want everybody to get whatever they can in place, and I'll wait for other people to do reviews first, and then I'll maybe get it like 2 years after.
Same.
Yep. I'll think about VR when the very thought of it will not make me motion sick.
Yeah. Then probably the next game for VR, you probably won't want to play. It's called The Gallery, and apparently it gives you like a sense of vertigo. I have no idea why anybody would want to play that nonsense, but I guess people with adrenaline, that are adrenaline junkies and sort of afraid of heights, I guess. I don't know what is going on with this,
Yeah,
but
I kind of want to play it, like just to see how much. Like, I'm really interested in tricking your brain and your body into like experiencing sensations that aren't actually happening. I think maybe that's also what draws me into VR, because I can try to override the fact that, okay, this isn't really happening, but like my instinct works against me, and I can lean over an edge in the game and be sitting in my chair but still get that, your heart skips a beat, like, when you're going down the stairs and you skip a step. And I think that's really interesting how we can, simulate these feelings. I think that's what gets me about VR. So I actually do want to play that, as much as it's probably going to terrify me and take years off my life. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'll do it.
yeah, I don't know if that's like the first thing that I want to do. I just like I have to. I don't know if that's a practice. Maybe if I get VR, I'll throw myself into the lion's den, and I'm just like, what, this will be the first game that I'll play, because then I can get used to things being a little awful for me. But I probably wouldn't eat beforehand, because maybe I would puke. So let's see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. Okay. Next on the agenda is, yeah, still sort of technology related, I guess, but still gamey. Microsoft, they want to know if you would be willing to sell back your digital games. And I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it sounds very GameStop-y. Waiting for the page to load. God damn it.
Yeah, I feel like I would do it, just because I would never think that there would ever be the possibility to sell back a digital game. So I mean, if I can, it's better than nothing at all.
But what if nothing at all? Like, would you trade it for GameStop prices? I mean, I guess I would. I mean, I guess.
I guess just because I always went into the whole digital purchase thing with the attitude of, once I buy it, it's mine. I'm not going to be able to trade this back. So now that it's a possibility, I might not get much back for it at all, but it's like, hey, if it's between nothing or this, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've never really been one to trade back games anyway. Like, I would borrow games if I didn't plan to keep them.
Right.
And if it's something that I plan to keep, then I would actually buy. At least when it comes to like physical copies. So I never really traded back games much to begin with. So I guess for me, it's all kind of new. And I'm like, oh, look, hey, I can trade back a digital game. But I definitely get the whole thing with the GameStop prices because they, yeah.
Yeah, they're only offering you 10% back for whatever price that you have. So if I purchase the Division and I was like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like dealing with this. And if I paid $60 for it, I get $6 back. And that doesn't that doesn't sound too that doesn't sound too favorable, especially if you played something and you just bought it. I don't know how they're going to work that out. I don't know if it's like, okay, even if you just bought it, you're still going to get 10% back or not, but it would be kind of skeevy if, I bought something. I think that's why I'm so paranoid with buying the physical CDs for these games, because then at least if I can't sell it at GameStop for a decent price, I could always sell it to somebody else who's thirsty for the game for a decent price, and you can't do that with digital games. And now they're just like, okay, well, we'll buy it back, but you're only going to get 10% back. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's for people that kind of just want to clear out their Xbox, I suppose, and just like, what, let me just clear this shit out my Xbox and go about my business, and let me just collect my $6 and buy a game. I don't know.
True.
Nah, if I've paid full price and you give me $6, I'm gonna flash back to college and those expensive ass textbooks we had to buy. It's like, this $200 textbook is worth $10. Like, nah, bro, I'm gonna keep the game if that's all you're giving me.
Yeah, it's really awful. Trust me, I know what it's like. I spent $20 on a college book, and then when I went back, they were like, "Alrighty, this will be $38." Whoa! I literally only used like a chapter out of this book, and it's almost brand new, and you're telling me it's only $38? I know you're gonna sell it for like $150.
Yep, every time.
Yep, that's why I sold my books back to Amazon when I was still in school.
Yeah, so let's see. There is a comparison here. And it says, by comparison, GameStop is looking mighty fly, because if you paid, again, that example was $60 and 10% would be $6. By comparison, GameStop would pay you, let's say, $30 for Mario Kart 8. So, yeah, that is, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that Microsoft needs to kind of like look over it. Maybe for newer games, they should fix that price a bit and see how.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't seem fair. It seems kind of shady.
Oh, it's totally shady.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Microsoft. Nintendo's going down the same route. They want people to download more and move on from discs. I just don't know how to feel about it. I don't have any Nintendo consoles except for my 3DS. So I don't know how it works as far as like if they have like a cloud like everybody else does, where you could just like download games and whatnot. Whenever you feel like it, if you want to erase it, you can just erase it and then download it later. But it just sounds too dangerous. It sounds too risky, and I don't want to take that risk.
Well, also the Wii U is just so small hardware size.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a bigger game like Mario Maker or something like that is going to take up a lot of your space if you have to download the whole thing digitally.
Right. So in turn, that would mean buying more memory. So that's kind of maybe like a sales tactic. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we'll sell you this for more memory. We will. Does the Wii U have memory cards?
No.
Think so. No.
Nope. I actually have a Wii U, and it is actually collecting dust.
Oh, well. But yeah, the only
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it was one of those. I'm having a bad day. I've got enough on the credit card. I'm gonna buy it on my way home.
okay.
And except for Splatoon with some of my peeps, I haven't really got a lot of use out of it.
Okay.
So the resale value isn't worth much either, because even if I sold everything I had, it wouldn't really be that much money.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah, well, the console would get a decent price, but some of the games have a really low resale value or trade-in value.
That kind of sucks. I mean, the only reason why I wanted to get a Wii U is for Monster Hunter. That was
Right.
the only reason why, because I was just like, yes, I can play it online. I can play it on my TV, my big screen. But I just kind of never got around to getting a Wii U. And then Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate came to the 3DS, and I was kind of like, okay, well, I just don't have to get the Wii U. You know, it just seemed like more convenient. If it does not have memory cards, I think the plan is that they're either going to sell a Wii U with a bigger hard drive for memory, or they're going to offer, I guess, an external drive for it, because it doesn't make any sense. You're going to push us to digital, but then we may not have enough room. It just seems really inconvenient to have to like erase games and then put other games on.
Unless they do some kind of streaming type thing where you have like the base of the game on your console and then you're streaming a decent portion of whatever you're playing, which I could see working, but I can also see being very dependent on the quality of your internet, and depending on where you live, that might not even be a realistic possibility. So I don't know. That's a thing, I guess. But like, yeah, I don't see the benefit of making the push towards all digital with the current state of the Wii U, like size wise and just everything wise. I don't know. The Wii I've never really seen as too much of a connected services type console either. Like, I know you have the Miiverse and all that stuff, but like, and maybe it's because I don't have one, so I don't really pay attention, but it doesn't seem like a console I would spend much time online with, whether it's with other apps or whether it's just with online games. So I don't know. I don't have one, so like I said, so I'm just gonna sit this one out and just watch. But I can't. I don't know how it's gonna go. I can't like predict or fathom how that's gonna work out.
And maybe they're gonna bring it with the. I keep forgetting they're coming with a new console called the NX. Yeah, I just maybe they're gonna do it with that.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're gonna have it with like huge hard drives. I'm hoping so, because it would make a ton of sense. I'm not really that excited for this console. I haven't been excited for a Nintendo console for a really long time, except for the limited edition 3DSs that they seem to be churning out at every turn. But
Yeah.
other than that, I'm not really like sweating it like that. Hopefully they have something new to offer, something competitive, because the Wii U, I mean, some of the games look really, really awesome, but I think we can all agree that these companies kind of looked down on the Wii U and felt it wasn't as powerful, so they were just like, you know what, the big dogs are Microsoft and Sony, so let's just focus on them.
Right.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well.
Yeah, whatever. Xbox One is having another price cut. They recently had one, I think this Christmas. I think they knocked it down $50.
Yep.
And it was like $350, and now it is going down to $300 in the spring. Not sure what the reasoning is behind it. Let's see. Yep. It already started March 20th. Whoops.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get an Xbox One now.
Tempting.
maybe I'll get one.
Very tempting.
Maybe. Oh, so it's a temporary price cut, but they don't. Microsoft hasn't given any say on when it will go back up to $350, and it's offering a variety of discounts on Xbox and PC games as well. So, but the titles, let's see, the titles that they're offering discounts on are Fallout 4, Halo 5 Guardians, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Far Cry Primal, and Rainbow Six Siege. In some cases, by more than 60%. So if you're looking for it, if you're looking for a time to get an Xbox One, this is the time. This is the time to get greedy. I would recommend it.
I'm really considering it.
Yeah, I'm considering it
I just want to play Halo 5. I'm a Halo fangirl, admittedly. Unashamed. That's what I want it for. Pretty much just that.
Damn you.
Hey. I like to pew pew.
Yeah. I mean, when I play Halo, I could see why people like it, but I just couldn't get hyped like everybody else was. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, okay, this is cool, but this is Call of Duty for Xbox, so I'll be going over here now. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, I would get it if it were 60% off. I would cop it. If it were 60% off, like I can give it a try. The Division kind of made me start loving multiplayer gaming, because usually I'm a lone wolf while I'm gaming, and now I think I'm a little bit more social. So maybe I'll get it and play around with other people. We'll see what happens.
I mean, hey.
You never know. And I don't know if anybody's excited for the Batman Telltale game that's supposed to be coming out. No. Yes, no. The consensus. No. I've never even played a Batman game in my life. I have PlayStation 3 Batman games just sitting there collecting dust that I said that I was going to get to, and I just never got to. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Whatever. I guess nobody cares about that. But just in case, and just in case one of you listeners actually does care, being considerate, Telltale, being real, Telltale, they tell some pretty good stories, especially with like Michonne, the Walking Dead series. I'm hearing that what other game did they have? I think it was oh my gosh, what was that other game? Borderlands?
No, Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us. I think they did have a Borderlands game though. They did.
Telltale, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I know. Like I almost missed it, but I heard it was really good. I heard the story was really good.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Oh, Tales from the Borderland. I have episode 1 of that, and it is one of those mini games where I was like, oh, it's free, I'm gonna grab it, and then I have not actually played it yet because I suck.
Yeah. It was one of those games for me too. I actually was given a review code, and now it's just sitting inside my my inventory in Steam. I should probably get to that sometime soon. But yeah, Batman Telltale game is you're supposed to be able to not only play as like the Caped Crusader, but you can play as Bruce Wayne throughout the game too. Like you can choose either or throughout the game. You can choose to be regular Bruce Wayne, or you can choose to be Batman. At some point at the game, you would have played both, but you can play through the game as Bruce Wayne if you'd like. And it's supposed to be an original Telltale story. That's the only reason why I'm kind of like leaning towards it, because I am a Batman fan, and I'd be interested in playing Telltale's version of the stories, because like I'm kind of addicted to their story, the way they tell stories. So they are supposed to. We can expect to see characters like Alfred, Vicky Vale, the reporter. I haven't heard that name in like forever, since like the first Batman. Jim Gordon, excuse me, and Renee Montoya. There are no villains announced yet. I'm hoping that they bring everybody and their mother to that. That's the only reason why I would be interested. And the fact that they're still going to do like the whole cell shaded comic book style thing. So
Which is nice. That's
yeah,
what
it's
that's
cool.
for.
It's beautiful. Anybody's an Uncharted fan? God, you
I've not
guys.
played it. I know, I'm a loser. I haven't played it, but
I haven't played it either.
So I was all down with Uncharted 4, like finally a game I can play because I never had a PS3.
Okay.
And then the whole thing with the voice actress
What happened?
The black character in the game is voiced by a not black voice actress.
Oh.
And I was kind of hardcore on it, like, fuck Uncharted, because the first game is also kill a lot of brown folks. But then it turns out she didn't know what the character was supposed to look like when she read for the part.
Okay.
So I'm leaning about it because, the person who got the VA gig didn't know that the character is supposed to be a black woman.
Okay.
That's just that she's South African and supposed to sound British.
Oh. Okay.
Which, there are people of color South Africans. Tariq Musa is one of them.
Yeah.
But, it's complicated because, we get into the whole digital blackface thing.
Right.
But can we fault her? Because, hey, she's got to eat too and didn't know this when she read for the role. Right. But it was Naughty Dog's chairman, maybe the director of the game. Someone at Naughty Dog had a very kind of flippant response to the concerns.
Not surprised.
Oh.
So I'm on the fence about getting it, but also I don't have a day job right now, so that's also $70 that I could put toward other things.
Right. Things that actually care about your concerns.
Right. And that's kind of my whole gig, so that'd be kind of antithetical to my mission statement.
Right. Like, what? That's so weird. Like, okay, I get it. I don't know if I really fault her per se, you know what I'm saying? Because it's
right.
like, okay, you're doing voice acting. You don't know that she's black. Okay, cool, whatever. Because, see, the thing is, the reason why those things are so complicated is because when you sort of know that you're supposed to play a certain type of character, sometimes people subconsciously put a little bit of a stereotype behind it with the way that they voice act the character. Mm-hmm. So it gets a little weird. But I don't know, like I have an Uncharted game and that is also collecting dust. So, I figured maybe this could get me to play it and perhaps I could catch up. Now I'm side-eyeing it, so.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at because I'm just like, I like Uncharted, but I don't have a thirst for Nathan Drake like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'll probably get it once it comes out, or if they pull some season pass bullshit because there's multiplayer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the multiplayer. It was fun to do the open beta for that, but I've also got like the Steam backlog like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll probably get it. I'm not like as cut and dry. No, fuck this game. I'm not ever buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Having more information. But it's like me and Vivienne in Inquisition, knowing she was not voiced by a black woman kind of still bugs me.
Oh, I haven't played that game yet. So.
Want to. Just because of her.
God.
I don't know why it's so hard to like find black voice actors. Like, it's not that hard.
Because they don't want to.
Yeah.
The woman who voiced Ashley was black in Mass Effect.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I believe so, yes. They found a black voice actress for that, but that's also BioWare, and they do a little better on some things. Not everything, but some things.
Right.
They try. I can give a nod to trying. Like, not like weak wrist limp trying, but like an actual trying to it be inclusive and that, and just be like, you know what, let's just hire a bunch of white actors and we're done here. Right. But yeah, well, whatever, we'll see what happens. They delayed it till May 10th because they've actually had a string of delays. Maybe that's the curse the curse of the curse of no black voice actress. But but yeah, so they're sticking to it this time. We'll see what happens. I'll reserve my fuck yous for later. We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Maybe I'm gonna skip this telephone operator game thing because like it's cool that there is a game where it uses a real 1927 switchboard, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, like, it's fun. I would probably have fun for like a good hour with that, but whatever. Anyway.
Right. I'd play it at like a convention or something for a while, but I don't see like long term. But it is certainly neat. I'm not going to deny that.
Hi, what phone number is this? 7. You know, like.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So let's see what happens with that. I don't know. Maybe that's fun. I'll probably look on YouTube and see if there's anybody playing it, and you know, maybe I'll live vicariously through them if I remember. Whatever. So, Tanya, you went to GDC. Talk to me, babe.
So for those listening, if you're not aware, the GDC is the Game Developers Conference, which is a huge event at Moscone West in San Francisco, held every year. And for those that don't know what I do, I started I Need Diverse Games, and as part of that, we are in the GDC Scholarship Program, which means that I and 25 scholars got to go with all access passes.
Wow.
Yeah, so while that's great, there's also no real monetary backing behind it, but hopefully those conversations can continue because they are aware of the issue.
Okay.
Thanks to folks like Rami Ishmael and Kat Small, who also brought it up in tweets, you know, during GDC and post GDC, that while getting a pass or even a speaker badge is great, a week in San Francisco ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And if you get an all access pass, you really need to go the whole week to get the most out of it. Because if you can't go for the whole 5 days and you get a pass for all access, which is worth $1,600.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is not a cheap convention. Even if you just get an expo pass and go for 3 days, you got to get there Tuesday night, stay probably through Friday night, if not Saturday, depending on what you're up to. If you don't have someone to crash with, share a room with, depending on where you're flying from, because I'm a 5-hour flight from Chicago, it adds up real quick.
Yeah.
You know, for those that are marginalized, or maybe your indie studio that just doesn't have money like that because you're still working on your first game, it's professional development that is really, really vital, but it's inaccessible to the masses. So that's a conversation that I'm hoping to keep going post GDC, and when people are not burned out and like, oh God, this week is over, because I'm still tired and I've been home since yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, I took a couple extra days to chill in California. And, you know, it's like, it's exhausting. And, you know, there's not a lot of resources on how tiring a convention can be and kind of what to do and how to network. But yeah, the other part of GDC is the party culture. And as we know, not all parties are awesome and great because of content.
Oh God, here we go. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Actually, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, I saw something that you tweeted, and it really pissed me off. Not you, not you. You didn't
like,
piss me off.
I was like, I'm gonna just creep out now. If that's the case.
Oh, sorry, I hung up by mistake. No, there was like this weird thing. I don't know if it was like a question or like a statement about how it costs more money to make characters of color. What was that about?
Okay, so that.
Yeah.
And before I tell this story, someone literally had to keep me in my chair.
Uh-oh.
So I went to Catherine Cross's talk about immoral women. And she gave a very lovely, you know, more like a lecture, because she didn't have PowerPoint or anything. But I thought that was more important because of the content. Because, you know, you don't want to have, at least I wouldn't want slides for someone like that because of the titillation factor, etc. So she gives this great 30-minute talk about immoral women and these tropes and how we sexualize people and demonize women in games. And, you know, it'll all be up eventually on the GDC vault.
Nice.
And, like, the second question is this dude who decides to bring up...
A dude, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on now. About the excuse of how it's the expense of developing black characters / characters of color. Now, keep in mind, her talk had nothing to do with this. And...
God, here we go.
And, you know, she brought up the intersection of marginalized identities, especially in characters like, you know, Bayonetta, Mother Giselle, Vivienne from Inquisition. And that was about as far as it went. It was not specifically about the development of characters in a technical sense, like this guy's question seemed to veer towards. And it was just literally, it was one of those, is this a question? Is this a statement? Where the fuck are you going with this?
Right, what are you talking about?
And, I mean, she handled it very well. I mean, full disclosure, I love Catherine dearly. She's a great friend. And she's one of the smartest fucking women I know. Go follow her on Twitter. Don't be an asshole to her, because I'll yell at you. But, you know, she just gave this great talk about a trope that we don't really discuss. You know, and she crossed those taboo lines talking about sex and the commodification of sex in terms of immorality. And this dude's question just kind of came literally out of nowhere.
Wow.
And one of my friends, a local friend, was sitting next to me. I put my head on her shoulder. And I was like, I need Jesus.
Right.
Because, you know, if I was more athletic, I probably could have made a leap over to this dude.
Right. What the hell?
But you know, there are questions that people either, like, I'm still not sure. Like, those of us sitting in the room still are not sure what his point was, if anything.
Wow.
Someone probably made him mad. Some, you know, feminist probably made him upset. I'm gonna go ask somebody. I'm gonna go to this panel, and I'm gonna ask the women about this. I really feel like
that nose. Like...
Yeah, I've been
my
practicing that for a long time. But when people do stuff like that, like, they ask questions that aren't super related, but it seems like oddly planned. I feel like they sat behind a computer, like, eating their Doritos, like, wait till I get to one of these panels. I'm gonna put her on the spot. Anyway, go on.
Well, you know, that's what seems to happen, though, because one thing that happened with me is, you know, I want to get into writing and narrative, and that's very important to me because a lot of times in games, the narrative does not always match the action.
Okay.
Right.
And so they had these writers' roundtables and special interest group meetings. So there was a roundtable on Friday. And so part of it was kind of, you know, throwing out tropes we want to stop seeing in games. Me being that person, the only black person in the room, by the way,
boy,
brought up let's kill the trope of historical accuracy as an excuse to not have diversity.
Yes.
Apparently that was a cue for someone to bring up The Witcher 3.
Oh.
And I was just like... Really? This is where we are? But credit must be given to Richard Dansky, who's moderating the session, who once a dude had his, like, 2 minutes, he kept him from talking.
Okay.
But I was just like, what? Well, how did we get here? Because he brought up, like, he made sure to tell people that he didn't work for the dev company that made Witcher, which is CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
He's Polish, and it has all this background, and I'm like, I'm aware of that. I actually really love the game. But it's still a white-ass game.
Yeah, it's pretty white. It's a pretty white game. I noticed that when I went to E3 2013, and I was like, okay, I get it. The character is white, but these villagers are hella white. Like, you are in a fantasy world, and you have all these monsters, these goddamn moose monsters and stuff like that, but you can't possibly imagine a black person.
Well, and here's the thing. Lore-wise, there are people of color in Zakaria. And you do finally get to meet them in the DLC that's out now.
Okay.
So A, we're literally DLC, but B, Um, there are dwarves that speak with a Scottish accent. There are griffins. There's all these other monsters. And apparently, even having some brown folks amongst the villagers was too much. You know,
Logic.
yeah. And so it did not devolve into an argument, but it's kind of like, this is kind of telling. I'm the only black person in this room. And then Toya, and I'm blanking on her last name. I will make sure I find it for you. She helped co-write the narrative design book
Okay.
for game writers, and she was the only other black woman involved in this circle of writing folks.
Hmm.
I mean, there were other women of color, but in terms of specifically black women, she and I were the only ones kind of in this orbit.
Okay.
And that's telling because, there's a lot of things that happen when it comes to narrative and it comes to design that are not malicious. They're not like, oh, we are setting out to be racist assholes.
Right.
But there's an unconscious bias that comes out when you write if there's nothing to give you context about why this could be a bad idea, then that's when you get situations like, for me, Mother Giselle, who reinforced the stereotype of the hyper-religious old black woman.
Hmm.
And she's a character in Inquisition. And, if she'd been white, if she'd been anything else, that probably would have never pinged to me as an American black woman.
Right.
But if you've got a writing team in Canada who have not dealt with that trope or have not seen that, that's never going to occur to them. Like everyone else, and people bend over backwards to go, no, it's about so-and-so being a mage. Because I don't want to spoil it if you're going to go play it. And they bent over backwards to justify that. And I'm like, intent means nothing. And even, BioWare writers have said, well, intent means nothing if this is what our players experience and we have unintentionally harmed them.
Yeah.
So, I'm in my 40s. There's a lot of stuff I've seen that some of these gamers aren't hip to because they're in their 20s or in their 30s or they grew up in a homogenous area and they never had to deal with some of the stuff we have as black women.
Yeah. Huh. That is very odd. I mean, it sucks that we still have to talk about stuff like this because it's like, okay, you guys, you're not gonna get somebody that has actually lived the experience. Maybe like if you're going to, cause you have to be responsible now. Like it's
Right.
what happens. We've said this before. It's what happens when other people write your stories. You can't do that now. Like it's not an excuse anymore. It's not an
Right.
excuse. So
And you know what's funny about that? Just with the whole stereotypes and stuff like that, it's amazing how they talk about accuracy. Okay, and going back to the whole accuracy in fantasy type games, fantasy based games, not having any black people, things like that. But then when they do have us, they somehow manage to get our real life tropes in these non real life environments when we are into these games. And it's like, I see, where realism is important to you. It's like, we can't be in your games, but if we are, you got to make sure that it's some kind of stereotype we've seen everywhere else. In other words, we get put in this box while your, white characters get to explore a full range of character developments and writing styles and personalities and things like that. So it's funny from the first perspective that we took, talking about the fantasy games, but especially when you look at, oh, well, hey, there's diversity, but we're all in tropes. So it just makes me shake my head.
right, like I have yet to see a game where there's like a black alternative character because I know so many like black goths and black punk kids and stuff like that, and you'll often see it's a trope for white characters for somebody to be like a punk alternative kid, the one who's just like sarcastic and withdrawn, and then they have people that are bubbly, and then they have people that are jackasses and people that are heroic and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, so are we forever we're forever designated to being the street chick or the street hip hop guy with the yo and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with being a street person. It's just that I'm tired of seeing it. Like, you keep putting us in this box.
Right.
Or
it's not our only role.
Yeah, or the sassy friend who's like, oh no, girl, don't let him talk to you like that. Like, okay, come on. Use your imagination. You can think up all this shit, but you cannot imagine a black person out of these boxes. It's too much. And people complain about us complaining about it. And I'm like, well, if you don't want us to complain about it, then stop doing it. Put some effort into these characters. I just do not understand now. It's no excuse. It's just nothing. There's no excuse but laziness now. Nothing.
Well, and also, if you don't know any other people beside folks like yourself, how are you going to write outside your experience?
Right.
And honestly, I'd almost rather people not fuck it up than to continue using tropes. And, hire black folks, hire people of color, hire LGBT folks to tell our stories, because no matter how down someone is, they're not us.
Yes.
Right.
And, there's stuff that, as someone who wants to write games or write, if I want to write fiction, there's experience outside of myself that if I tackle it, I should try to find someone to be a good sounding board, do my research, use the internet. Because there was another great panel about the Muslim representation in games.
Yeah, because that's pretty terrible too, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and the first question was kind of a dude bro looking dude with, but I want to do better. Where do you suggest I look? And I love that Rami Ishmael's answer was the internet.
Yes, Google.
Because it was just like this whole I can't find people. I'm like, you are at a conference of 20,000 other people. You mean to tell me you can't find anyone?
Yeah. What they mean is all the social justice blogs that I've been ignoring because I don't like their viewpoints, I don't want to read them. So outside of that, I can't find anything.
Or they want to do stuff for free, which is a dilemma that I'm finding. And then Sean Alexander Ellen, a new challenger on Twitter, has actually set up a diversity consulting business.
Okay.
And when people ping, I need diverse games, they'll ping me going, so I want to diversify. And I'm like, so here's someone who has a business, or so what, here's my consulting rate per hour. Suddenly they get real quiet.
Very interesting.
It's not worth the investment for them. Like, oh, I want to do it so that I don't get accused of not being diverse. What? Spend money? What do you mean?
Well, they want to have a one and done conversation so they can claim due diligence or go back and go, look, aren't I diverse? I came up with this great idea and probably not even consider where they got the source material.
Not how it works.
Yeah, well, well, as if they keep doing it, they're just going to keep getting complaints, and that's the end of the story. More shenanigans at GDC. So I'm sure me and Crystal have talked about it like crazy. I'm sure you being at GDC, you've probably heard about it. Yeah. So here we are. We're at an event that just had a woman in gaming luncheon. So third party under Microsoft's wing decides to throw a party, a company-sponsored party at a club. And it, of course, again, after the women in gaming, there's kind of a thing where it's like, yay, we are progressing and stuff, right? So they get to the party, and then there are dancers there. But the dancers are wearing schoolgirl outfits. That's not played out or anything. But they're skimpy schoolgirl outfits. And people were, for me, understandably, they felt a little bit alienated by it. And then there's some people that actually enjoyed it. But there were people that were alienated enough where it made them want to leave. And then there were a couple of people that were just like, you know what, I'm going to complain to Microsoft and making a complaint. One woman, her name is Kamina. I don't see her last name in the blog that I'm looking at, but she made a what could be conceived as a snide remark. I don't know, I wasn't there, but it seemed kind of shady, where she asks one of the dancers, "Oh, and what is your role here?" Yeah, so then began, they took it as her, well, I saw it as too, her kind of like lashing out at the dancer. She kind of made the dancer feel like, she was wrong for doing her job, which is kind of fucked up. But
Right.
the issue here is how inappropriate, or if you feel that it was appropriate for them to only have female dancers, but not only have female dancers, but in these skimpy schoolgirl outfits after they just had this luncheon at a company event that was supposed to be celebrating women. How do you guys feel about that?
Um, it's discouraging, certainly, and I think on the one hand, Kamina's tweets were taken without her being asked in a lot of these articles.
Okay.
I know HuffPost did interview her, um, but she also made it very clear in later tweets that she was not blaming the dancers. She did say that, yes, I'm making a formal complaint. This is bullshit. But, when you have an event the same day and go, we want to encourage women to come to Xbox, to come to Microsoft, is disingenuous bullshit to then host a party with this, with scantily clad women as entertainment. Now, I'm not going to be down on the women. Hey, we all got to eat. It's a job.
Right.
But the people running the event, I want to know how this got past Xbox without anyone signing off on something with their name on it. That's my question.
I guarantee you it was a male. I guarantee you that it was a male. Because see, the problem is that this industry in general, with the gaming and tech, is mostly it's male dominated. Like, women are coming in. We have been expressing for decades that we want to get into this, and we have been old boy chased away from the scene. We're treated like we don't know shit on the scene. So now that they are more so like trying to say, hey, guys, we got to make room for them, or we got to acknowledge their presence, because we women are making these huge strides in everywhere, but especially these male dominated industries.
True.
And it's really freaking awkward to me that somebody would think that Microsoft is like, they're going this route where they're trying to say, okay, we're trying to be inclusive. I get it, but whoever's planning this is not being inclusive. Now, there's this argument that having dancers at the party, it's a party. Who cares? If you don't like it, then leave. And I think that's probably one of the most damaging ways to look at it, because
Yeah.
I think it's a little ignorant too. It's very selfish. You
It
don't
definitely is.
Yeah, it's extremely selfish. You don't tell people, well, if you feel like something's unfair, just go away, and maybe something along the way will come along that you like. You don't have to like it. Just leave. No, if something's unfair, speak up about it. I definitely feel like there could have been more effort put into this. I definitely feel like that. If you're trying to be inclusive, it's just, that was such a faux pas. You just
Right.
came out of a woman in gaming luncheon, and you only have female dancers. So that at the end of the day, that's telling me that, okay, yeah, we're feeding you this disingenuous food. We're feeding you this bullshit. But at the end of the day, you're still a bunch of tits and ass. Not to say that these dancers are just tits and ass, because they're
Right.
people too.
But that's the message that's being sent.
Yeah, that's the message that is being sent. People are forgetting that this is not just a party. This is a company sponsored party. Like, The networking affects you. I promise you, if, even though it's just a party, whatever you do at that party, if there's somebody that's a prospective employer there, they will take whatever happened that you have done, that they have seen you done at the party, into consideration, and if they want to hire you or not. So it's not just a regular party. It's a company party. So they should have been more inclusive in that. And you're telling me that parties that they plan months in advance, you're telling me that you couldn't find male dancers for this too?
Here's my thing. I've been to PAX East, and when I went to PAX East, the last one I went to was 2 years ago. So they had an after party. They threw it at a club, and it was, the Crystal Method was performing. And, of course, they had go-go dancers, okay? And that's normal in a club setting, whatever. But my thing is, there's a difference between a regular convention like PAX East, which is, open to the public, and it's mostly to entertain them. And it's not really about developing. It's about showcasing. Mm-hmm. So while I still don't agree with the whole thing of booth babes and things like that, I understand that they're going to be there. And they don't really use booth babes in the regular sense of the word. They do have, the conventionally attractive thin white women wearing their branded logo stuff and telling you about the game from some script that they were studying probably like 2 hours beforehand. And no insult to them. That's their job. They do it great. Right. But there's a difference to me, an environment like that, and then GDC, where you're talking about development, not just development of games, but development of the community, improvement in the community. It's way more of a professional setting. So I think it's not just the fact that they had female dancers and not male, but it's like, hey, they're basically sending the message that we consider the blatant objectification of women something that we can enjoy amongst a professional environment. And we can talk about, women in games and celebrate women in games and try to increase their presence. But, they're going to turn right back around and be like, by the way, we still want this out of you. Like, by the way, we still don't respect you enough to not do this just this once. And that's what got me. I was just like, this isn't the setting. Like, it's really not.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's two things. Like you said, it is a professional setting, and the idea of these parties is also supposed to be to network. But there's an issue with the party culture, because the first time I went to GDC was in 2014. And, I only had an Expo Pass, didn't know anybody, went with my friend who was trying to get in the industry, and knew nothing of this whole party culture. However, if I am at a professional event, I am on my best behavior. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, you don't know who's going to see you. You don't know who's going to remember how you acted at this event. And if I'm at a club setting, that does not encourage good behavior. It does not encourage professional behavior. There should have been no dancers at all, especially if the idea of these, after parties, things like that, is supposed to still be networking. Because everyone's like, oh, networking happens at all the parties. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to feel comfortable trying to network or talk to some executive or talk to some other woman in gaming if there's go-go dancers a few feet away, whether they be male or female. Because that is not a professional thing to have at your event. And someone at Xbox or Microsoft, somebody had to know this was going to happen.
Yeah, the reason why I bring up male dancers is because at the very least, they wouldn't have had the complaint of, okay, so y'all only got female dancers up there. Like, I mean, what are you trying to say? There's just so much surrounding this whole thing, especially with the branding of people of especially women complaining, where they say, oh, these are bitter feminists that are ruining my good time and people enjoyed it. And I'm like, okay, first off, you cannot speak for other people. Not everybody complains outwardly. I myself may have possibly enjoyed it, but I would have noted in my head where I was like, okay, so I don't know why these dancers are here. And I don't know why they address the school dancers, but schoolgirls, but okay, here, let me just try and get my thing on, because it's already hard enough for me as a woman to get into the development and gaming scene, but also as a black woman. So let me concentrate on that. You know,
Right.
like I have other things that I need to wear. That's something I would have side-eyed, but I probably wouldn't have complained about. But I feel like anybody that has complained about it has every right to complain about it, because for me, it's not an issue per se, but it's a legit complaint and it's a legit concern for you to be like, okay, so I mean, what kind of message are you guys trying to send here? Dancers are not bad, everybody.
Right.
Dancers are not bad. Dancers are in demand. But the question is, was it appropriate to have those type of dancers at all? Like, personally, when I was at E3, there were no dancers there, and I still managed to have fun. Like, I not to say that they didn't need the dancers, but you know, I mean, like,
Right.
it could have. Why even have them? But if you're gonna have them, don't have them in these outfits where it's just like, clearly you're trying to.
It's like, hey, look at these people.
Yeah.
Like, they're not working for the club in their regular outfits. It's like, here, we have a theme for you.
You are clearly trying to get it was male gazy, to say the very least.
Yeah.
And if it makes somebody feel uncomfortable, then shouldn't they freaking complain about it? It's odd how people throw these names out there. They say that you're a bitter feminist because you speak up about something. I think anybody who was angry about this had every right to. I cannot gaslight somebody and be like, oh, well, you know, everybody else had a good time. The 10 or 30 people around me, they seem to look like I have a good time. These parties don't exist in a vacuum. You don't know what everybody's thoughts are. You're not psychic. Let's be real here. Let's not do this whole thing. Well, I know 10 people who had a good time, so clearly you must not be complaining about anything legit. Don't do that. Let's not go there. And that's what's really happening. But Microsoft apologized for it, and they're getting shit for apologizing. Like, I don't get it. Like, Microsoft knows that they have to take responsibility, and they've already launched like an investigation to who did this party.
How dare they prioritize someone else's concerns besides the general gaming populace? Am I right?
Right. And they're taking responsibility for it, even though reports are saying that, you know, it wasn't exactly Microsoft per se that threw the party. It was kind of like a third party thing, but they're like, you know what, this happened on our watch. We don't want our employees or potential employees to feel like we don't give a fuck about them. And, you know, we kind of want to back up what we're celebrating here, so we're going to go ahead and jump in on this and just like investigate everything and see how that goes. And whatever happens, whether that person gets fired or they have like a sensitivity class, I'm pretty sure that Microsoft, well, I'm like 80% sure that they probably won't make a mistake of this magnitude ever again.
And here's my thing with everybody complaining about Microsoft addressing the issue. You're not losing out on anything. And this is the thing that it makes me, you know, side-eye everybody in community. It's like, okay, worst case scenario, they reprimand that person, which you're not personally invested in. You don't even know who's behind it. Mm-hmm. Secondly, what's the worst that's going to happen? Even if you do end up attending one of these events at some point in your life, you go to an after party of sorts and there's not going to be, you know, dancers. Like, why is this so important to you to argue against, you know, reprimanding what many people feel was an inappropriate, inappropriate thing to have at this type of setting and sending the wrong message? Like, why fight over it? Why get mad? You're essentially mad because they're addressing objectification that should not have taken place. And this is my whole thing. Like, what are you saying with your protest?
Well, you know, as someone who is, I guess for lack of a better word to explain it, in the industry, you know, due to the writing I've done, the work that I've done, it made women feel unwelcome and unsafe. Mm-hmm. So protesting that is giving a voice to, you basically have held your hand out to me at noon and slapped me with it at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I didn't go, like, I wasn't big into going to parties this year because it's not my thing. I'm old. I like to go to bed at like 9:30. Look, I'm in my 40s. I go have a couple drinks. I go sit down for the rest of the night. But it's very much a you can't have it both ways. You can't go, come, welcome, you're wanted here, and then have an event where this is the entertainment.
Yeah.
And
You're
it's
wanted to dance.
it's far too easy to basically slap a label on any woman who dares complain because, oh, you're not playing along, you're not going along with the program. This isn't about you, because that is, if this is the culture that they're going to have at an industry event where there's 20,000 attendees, what are they going to do at company events? What is that culture going to be if I get a job at Microsoft?
Right.
So that is my concern. If I'm going to encourage women to go into this industry, if I'm going to have 25 people under the banner of the work I do go and then see this and be exposed to it, because they didn't expect this when they went to this party. You expect professionalism at an industry event.
Right.
And it seems like from what I've talked to people about this, every year there's one party that fucks it up. There's an apology and it happens again with a different company. It needs to stop. If you want to have this kind of event, don't have it under the auspices of your company banner. If you just want to go, hey, some of us that are at GDC, we're just going to go to the club. It has nothing to do with work, with our companies. We're just going to go kick it. Go do that. But you are at an Xbox/Microsoft branded event at your professional conference of the year. It is inappropriate.
Yeah, I just, just a little more of a side note on them being inclusive. Again, even if they have like male dancers there, not everybody wants to see a female dance. What if I'm a gay male at the party? Like, be inclusive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where's my eye candy?
There was another party that night that they could have gone to for eye candy, but that's a whole different thing. And not eye candy in the same sense, but it's still a very white bro-y culture.
Yeah.
While there were a lot more women, a lot more people of color, a lot more, visibly non-binary, non-gender conforming people at the events, it is still a very white bro dude on the outside aesthetic event. I don't know how many plaid shirts and beards I saw that week. So until people are visible, until we are out there, until there is more blackness, more queerness, more visible everything, it's not going to change. As long as there's one frat bro dude who's in charge of a party, or no one checks them and goes, hey, this isn't okay, it will happen. There'll probably be another party like this next year, just not Microsoft, because they will have learned their lesson. So it's sad. I hate to say that. I hate to be that person. But a culture shift needs to happen in gaming. Not just, oh, we slapped Microsoft on the wrist and people are complaining at them. Because the thing is, it was almost like a knee-jerk. We had an apology same day.
Okay.
So I think some people view that as, oh, you're doing cover your ass. You didn't take your time and think about it. It's like, oh no, we did a bad thing. We're sorry. And, and for some people, they're just not going to be satisfied. Microsoft could have said anything and they still wouldn't be happy. Mm-hmm. So, it's up to each person how they take it. Well, I was glad to see an apology. It shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way. I wasn't expecting an apology at all. That's how low my expectations were. I wasn't expecting that at all. And at these parties that I've been to, again, I went to E3, very, very bro-y, and they treat you as a female, but especially a black female, they treat you as like a rarity in this as a scene, but they treat you as, no, I should say like a novelty in this scene. Like they're more interested in knowing if you have a boyfriend, basically if you want to fuck. I mean, I've had so many things happen to me at E3, like thankfully nothing physical, but a lot of them are not really interested in any of that. So like when you go to a networking party like this, you kind of expect a certain level of, I guess, I don't know. You just don't expect for people to act like that. You know, you're there to have fun, but you're still under this like a little bit of a professional umbrella where you expect for people to act well, professional but laid back.
Right.
So
Right.
Still decent.
still decent, not running around drunk with their shirt on their head or whatever, but they make for good stories, but not for networking events. So we'll see, we'll see what happens. Hopefully there's a big shift in that. I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. Personally, I'm just happy that they took responsibility for it, even though it was like indirectly. They were indirectly
Right.
responsible for it. They were just like, "Yeah, we don't know exactly who planned this party, but we're gonna look into it, and we don't want anybody to feel like they're left out." Which
'Cause
is
in
a
the
big
end, they're
step.
being represented, so they have to take responsibility to a point. Like, hey, this wasn't our intention, even if it's to separate themselves from the planning of it, which could be misconstrued or properly taken as them trying to dodge responsibility. But like, they have to address it, and people just need to admit that. They can't just be like, oh, whatever, it wasn't us.
Or they
Yeah.
could and get backlash, because some of these companies are super flippant about things like that. Like, like, oh well, just steal a feminazi. It just, who knows? I'm glad that you just so happen to know the person who sent out those tweets, because a lot of people were taking it out of context. With every article that I personally had seen made it seem like she was being a really nasty bitch towards the dancers. And I guess I'm the kind of person that waits for all the story to come out than for me to like actually accuse somebody of something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's easy to demonize somebody who complains, or says, "Hey, you guys, this doesn't look right. This is inappropriate for it." Then all of a sudden, people are like, "Shut up, we're having a good time." And then she's tweeting about it, and now it's all her fault for ruining everybody's good time. So
Right.
yeah, that's a little much. Just to clarify, so when she approached the dancer, was it like, your perception, was it disrespectful? Because the way people are writing it, they're making it seem like Kamina was on some super shade.
Nah, I don't think so because Kamina is actually one of my I Need Diverse Game scholars, and I think she looked at it as like kind of industry event, but I'm not sure what's going on here. As with all clickbait, I think her tweets were taken A, out of context, and B, hyped up to make it seem like she was this raging, anti-sex, anti-whatever feminist. So I'm pretty sure that she approached the dancer and wasn't nasty to her because she clarified and repeated several times, I'm not trying to shame the dancers. They were there doing a job.
See, I didn't hear any of that.
Right.
I didn't
course
hear
you
any
didn't.
of that.
Of course you didn't, because certain tweets were cherry picked, most of which places didn't even ask her, they just took her tweets.
Yeah, because we have everybody and their mother doing these think pieces on it, and they're like, "Oh, don't blame the dancers," which is a legit point.
Right.
Don't blame the dancers, and you shouldn't disrespect the dancers, and da 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 da. And I was like, something seems really off about this, so I'm not going to accuse Kamina of being a jerk. I basically just said, okay, this is what I heard. I kept it that way. You have to word yourself properly. This is what I heard happened, and I was like, you know what, it's seeing how people were witch hunting basically, and they were like, feminist this and feminazis, and this is going too far, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, you guys, like, it really, I don't know if it's really that serious. Like, at the end of the day, a dancer didn't lose their job. They still got paid.
Right.
Right.
The party was still had, but there were people that felt uncomfortable for it, and they have every right to address it. Like, stop acting like you really lost something severe that's going to ruin your next GDC party. Come on. Really?
Yeah, it gave me the way people were were making it sound, it had a very like white feministy vibe.
Mhm.
Like, and I wasn't, obviously now that we're talking clearing things up, we know that that's not exactly how everything went down, but just the level of outrage, like, I don't know, it just, like you said, it seemed a little bit off, and I'm glad that everything's getting cleared up with that now, because it makes a lot more sense in my head. I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna read the articles and just be quiet.
Right. So, well, I'm glad that we were able to get that cleared up. We were really lucky this time because we didn't have a plan at first to have somebody on, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's have somebody
Right.
else on. And we were incredibly lucky. Like, that's some great timing because we canceled the show last night and then we decided to have it today. And I'm just so glad, Tanya, that you were able to join us on the
Yeah, this was
show and
awesome.
clear it up. Like, that is some extreme ass luck on our hands. Yay.
Yep.
No worries, because normally I'd be finishing up my podcast now, so it all worked out.
Oh, awesome. Glad to hear it. Well, at least you've had some other experiences at GDC. I'm sure your feet are hurting because my feet were hurting at E3, traveling back and forth to all these booths
Oh
and
yeah, it's exhausting.
oh my god.
Yeah, and I'm going to PAX East. I've never been to a PAX event,
Oh, I'm
so
I will see you
jealous.
there. I will see you there.
yay, you can't miss me. I have pink tips on my dreadlocks, so
Ooh, yes.
and I'll be in some kind of BioWare something, so it won't be hard to find me. But our friend Andrea, Simply Andrea, also was there and worked the show floor.
Hmm.
And she's just like on day 2 or 3 of like, nobody touch me, I'm in pain, my feet hurt. Because if you go to GDC or any big convention, get good shoes, forget about being cute. Because I saw people in
Yeah.
heels, and I was like, how?
Right, girl, I tried to do E3 with Converses. I swear to you, I felt like the bottom of my shoes were about to like get holes in them because it was just, I was done. I had blisters on the bottom of my feet because I was walking all day. Just no.
No, I took a pair of Chuck Taylors with me. That was such a bad idea. I wore them once, and that was enough because San Francisco is a walking city.
Mm-hmm.
Where I live is not a walking city.
Yeah.
So I learned that lesson.
Yeah, it was rough.
But yes, I will actually be on 2 panels at PAX East.
Ooh.
Do you want to give the name?
Sure. The first one is How to Get into Games Journalism. And Ashley Berry asked me to join that panel because I knew nothing about PAX. I feel a way about Penny Arcade.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I had literally no real intent to go, but then I was asked to be on this panel. Um, and that is, I think, 11:30, I want to say, on Saturday.
God, I wish I was going now. Damn.
Um,
And tickets, like they had a flash sale on extra tickets today, and it lasted like 5 minutes, and they all sold out again.
Oh, my God. I
Sorry, that
hate
probably didn't make you feel better,
everyone.
but I had to throw that out
Wow.
there. Sorry.
I don't know if you
Wow.
can try to still get a press pass. I don't know how it works. Like I said, I've never been to a PAX anything.
Yeah, me neither. I'm gonna try and get some press passes because, why my interest in this is so good is because I started out in game journalism. Like, I kind of just bursted myself in there, just like feeling around, and I was like, let me do this and let me do that. Let me put my article here, let me write here, and I started gaining contacts and stuff, and started making a name for myself. But I definitely want to go to PAX East, and I want to show some support at the panel. I'm gonna try to get a press pass. I hope so.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Yeah, it's Saturday at 11:30, and then Butterfly Samurai asked me to join her panel on diversity in gaming.
Butterfly Samurai. Why does that sound so familiar?
She does a lot of conventions. She was just a C2E2. She does cosplay a lot.
Okay. Oh yes, cosplay. That's why I know that name. Okay.
Yeah, so she asked me to be on her panel, and it's a good mix of folks. And that will be, both of them are on Saturday on the 23rd at PAX East. I don't think the schedule is released yet, But both panels are on Saturday.
Nice.
Wow, that's really awesome. So we are coming to the end of the podcast. We're going to do some game release announcements. Of course, Crystal has already mentioned Fallout 4 Automatron DLC for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. If you guys are interested in that, I think I'm going to get into that this week. Probably going to buy Fallout 4 when I get paid this week.
See you next year.
Right. Right.
Like, it was nice seeing you.
Yeah, that's usually what happens because I did that with the Division, and the only time I really talk to somebody is if I talk to Crystal. Oh, so we doing the podcast? Okay, and then all you saw was like a bunch of posts and videos on the Division and what I was doing on there. Like, yeah, I should probably answer my emails and stuff at some point.
See no problems with this.
Yes. The next game is called Republique. That's on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Day of the Tentacle Remastered. I'm going to look into that because why not? That's on the PC, PS4, and PS Vita. Samaros 3. Crystal, you want to get into that? Because I know you were excited about that.
I am excited. So, and I think I talked about this on an earlier podcast, the Amanita Game Studios, which is based out of, and I always forget, it's an Eastern European country, and I keep saying the Ukraine, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. But they make a lot of really cool platformer games. There's Samaros 1 and 2, Machinarium, Botanicula, and then a couple other web-based games. And I actually, because as I've mentioned before, I suck at keeping up with things, I actually had no idea that Samaros 3 was coming out. So that is definitely something that people should look into. It's a nice, refreshing playstyle. It's basically like a puzzle point and click type game.
Okay.
I really like them. They're simple. The art and the music is really what draws me in. The music's ambient and kind of like quirky, as is the art, and like just how the characters are, how much interaction you get from them, because you usually don't get any speech. It's all like sound effects and things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's cool. Pick it up.
Okay. Then there's Trackmania Turbo for PS4. That comes out on March 25th. So that's it for game releases of this week. Are there any announcements besides... Well, I'm sure you already did your like PAX thing. Do we have any announcements?
I don't think so. I don't think anything exciting going on.
Well, I'm actually doing 2 conventions in 1 week, so this may be the most anyone hears out of me for a while.
Okay.
I'm actually an invited guest to PenguinCon, which is April 30th through May 1st in Detroit, or adjacent to Detroit. So yeah, the schedule's not up for that, but I'm an invited guest, and Anne LeMay of BioWare is a guest of honor, as is Marco Shiro, who does Mark Reed stuff, and I've never been there either, so it's a week of new cons for me.
Awesome. I'm jealous. I want to be with cons. I don't have anything going on per se, so we'll just get down to you guys plugging anything. Cypher, go ahead and plug everything you want people to know.
Let's see. So I stream on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Cypher of Tier. My schedule is currently Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Twitter poll Thursday is a thing. So nice. Based on a Twitter poll, that's what I play on Thursday. Saturdays is Seeking Sarah Saturday, so I'm intentionally romancing Sarah in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh my.
She is a problematic as fuck character, and I'm trying to work through her complexity thanks to one of my podcast guests. And Tuesday is Unravel. I think I've got 2 levels left, but I'm currently stuck on a level.
Crystal, that's your thing.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, today's podcast episode has Martin Sellin of Unravel Games, so we got him for the podcast.
What?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm definitely going to put some priority in listening to that. Make sure to... Have you linked it? You've linked it in the message?
I did give you a link, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we get into that. Crystal, you go ahead and give your YouTube and Twitch deets.
All right. It's pretty easy. It's Crystal Killjoy for both YouTube and for Twitch. And actually, I have a Tumblr as well now, which is also Crystal Killjoy. And if I can remember my login for Twitter, then you can find me on there as well.
Yes. And me, The Grim Freaker. It is YouTube/C/The Grim Freaker. You can find me on there. Right now I'm playing Far Cry Primal. I've given my view on if you should buy The Division. I'm also getting ready to work on the second episode to the Michonne miniseries. I think that's coming out on the 29th. So if you haven't taken a look at that, I definitely... Cypher, were you watching me when I was streaming that? I think so, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wound up having like almost 5 hour stream today because I was like, I miss streaming and I miss Dragon Age.
Yeah. If you guys haven't already watched it, just check out my channel. Twitter's at The Grim Freaker. Also, my Twitch is twitch.tv/The Grim Freaker. You know, doing stuff on there. I don't really have a schedule per se, but I've been trying to really get into League of Legends. I've restarted that again. I kind of got distracted with The Division and Far Cry Primal, but I will be jumping back into that soon. Maybe after I finish Far Cry Primal. I'm trying to not do like this whole like ADD thing where I'm just like jumping from game to game, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point. Anyway, thank you so much, Cypher, for coming on the show, giving us your time. I know that you're super busy. That was awesome of you. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Oh, no problem. This was awesome. And I get to do a podcast that is not my own.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Again, we all appreciate your time here and for just like listening to us. We will check you next episode. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.